Welcome to English Listening Practice. Today's story, How to Build Habits That Last. This story has 55 parts. Listen carefully and enjoy the story.
Did you know that about 40% of what you do every single day isn't actually a conscious decision? That is right. Almost half of your daily actions are completely controlled by your habits. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are talking about something that affects every single one of us, which is how to develop good habits. Think about your morning routine for a second. Have you ever noticed that you do the exact same things in the exact same order without even thinking about them? That happens because your brain loves to save energy. When you repeat an action enough times, your brain puts it on autopilot, and that action becomes a permanent habit. Developing good habits is incredibly important because they shape our future. If you want to achieve your goals, you need to build the right daily routines to get you there. Let's start by looking at how a habit actually works. Every habit in our lives follows a simple 3-step pattern, which psychologists call the habit loop.
The first step is the cue, or the trigger. This is a signal that tells your brain to start a specific behavior automatically. A cue can be a time of day, a certain place, or even an emotion. For example, feeling stressed might be the trigger that makes you want to eat something sweet. The second step is the routine itself. This is the actual habit or action you perform, like eating that piece of chocolate or scrolling through social media. Finally, the third step is the reward. This is the positive feeling your brain gets after finishing the routine, which makes you feel good. The reward is crucial because it helps your brain remember this specific loop for the future. If the reward is pleasant, your brain will want to do the action again. Let's look at a very common example that most of us have experienced. Imagine your phone buzzes with a new notification while you are working. That buzz is your cue. It instantly grabs your attention and triggers a feeling of curiosity, interrupting your focus on your work. The routine is picking up the phone and checking the message. You might even open a few other apps while you have the phone in your hand. The reward is the quick feeling of entertainment or connection you get from reading the message. It gives your brain a tiny rush of happiness. Once you understand this loop, you can start changing your habits. You can keep the same cue, but change the routine to something much healthier. Now, let's talk about how to build a completely new habit. One of the best strategies is to start incredibly small. Many people make the mistake of trying to change everything at once. They suddenly decide to wake up at 5 in the morning, go to the gym, and eat perfectly. Have you ever tried doing that? Usually it works for a few days, but then you get extremely tired and give up completely. If you had started with just one small change, you probably would have been much more successful. Big changes require a lot of motivation, and motivation comes and goes. Instead of relying on motivation, you should try the 2-minute rule. The idea is to make your new habit so easy that it takes less than 2 minutes to do. For instance, if you want to start reading more books, do not promise to read one chapter every night. Just commit to reading one single page. It sounds almost silly, doesn't it? But reading one page is so easy that you will not make excuses to skip it, even if you are very tired. Once you open the book and read that first page, you will often find that you want to keep going. The hardest part is simply starting the action. Another great way to build a new habit is called habit stacking. This means you attach your new habit to an old habit that you already do every day. Let's say you want to start drinking a glass of water every morning. You already have a strong habit of brushing your teeth, right? So you can stack the new habit on top of the old one. You tell yourself, after I brush my teeth, I will immediately drink a glass of water. Because brushing your teeth is already automatic, it acts as the perfect cue for your new water habit. You do not even have to think about it. Over time, these two actions will become completely linked in your brain. Before you know it, drinking water will be just as natural as brushing your teeth. Of course, building good habits is not always a smooth journey. We all make mistakes along the way, and that is completely normal. One very common mistake is relying entirely on willpower. Willpower is like a battery. It gets drained throughout the day as you make various decisions. If you keep junk food in your kitchen, you have to use willpower all day long to avoid eating it. Eventually, your willpower will run out. A much better approach is to design your environment for success. If you want to eat healthier, simply do not buy the junk food in the first place. Make the good habits easy to do, and make the bad habits difficult. If you want to watch less television, take the batteries out of the remote control. Another important tip is to be kind to yourself when you mess up. Many people think that missing one day ruins all their progress. If they forget to exercise on Tuesday, they feel guilty and decide to quit for the rest of the week. They think they have completely failed. But one mistake does not erase all your hard work. A really good rule to remember is this: never miss twice. If you miss a workout or eat a piece of cake, do not panic. Just make sure you get back on track the very next day. Consistency is much more important than perfection. If you do the right thing 80% of the time, you will still see amazing results. Let's look at how we can apply these ideas to real-life situations. How about learning English, since that is exactly what you are doing right now? If you want to improve your listening skills, do not plan to study for 3 hours on Sunday. That is too overwhelming and very hard to maintain. Instead, use the habit stacking method we talked about earlier. Listen to a short English podcast while you are commuting to work or washing the dishes. You already wash the dishes every day, so that becomes your cue. The routine is listening to the podcast, and the reward is feeling proud of your progress. What if your goal is to be more physically active? Again, start very small so you do not get discouraged in the first week. You could put your running shoes right next to your bed before you go to sleep. Seeing the shoes in the morning becomes your visual cue. Your only goal is to put the shoes on and step outside for 5 minutes. You do not even have to run if you do not want to. Most of the time, once you are outside with your shoes on, you will decide to take a short walk anyway. You have successfully removed the friction of starting. The key is to celebrate these tiny victories. Every time you complete your small habit, tell yourself that you did a great job. That positive emotion is the reward that tells your brain to repeat the behavior. It builds your identity as someone who actually follows through on their goals. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let's do a quick recap. Remember that habits are built through a loop: cue, routine, and reward. Here are a few useful phrases you can use when talking about this topic. The first one is to get into the habit of doing something. For example, you might say, I want to get into the habit of waking up earlier. It simply means you want to start a new routine. The opposite phrase is to break a habit. If you drink too much coffee, you might say, I need to break the habit of drinking coffee late at night. Finally, when things get difficult, you have to stick to it. Sticking to a habit means you continue doing it, even when you do not feel motivated. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Pick one tiny habit to start today, stick to it, and I will catch you in the next episode. And that's the end of today's story, How to Build Habits That Last. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed listening. Keep practicing every day. Your English is getting better and better. Follow this channel for more English listening practice. See you next time.